Morning, everyone. Welcome to my session, the rather gloomily titled Hope and Fear of Two World Cups. I'm glad it didn't put everyone off coming today. I'm from COPA90. I am the founder and CEO of COPA90. For those of you who don't know, we're a football media business launched in 2012 on the basis that we felt that traditional broadcast media in particular was looking very much after the 90 minutes on the field, and we felt that there was a place that we could play, particularly with young audiences, to tell the stories outside of the 90 minutes that make the 90 minutes matter more. And that was our founding principle, and it's the principle that keeps us going and kind of drives us today. Very thankful to be invited here today by the World Football Summit to share something of what we achieved this summer in Russia, but I also wanted to look ahead to the Women's World Cup next summer in France and talk about what I feel is the striking similarities and the striking differences between the two. And it all revolves around those two words, hope and fear. So what I mean in terms of hope and fear as it relates to the Men's World Cup that's just gone is that 18 months before the tournament kicked off, the BBC ran a documentary which pretty much said that if you go to the World Cup in Russia, you will be killed or maimed by the Russian hooligan faction that will dominate the entire tournament. And if you haven't seen the documentary, look it up. It's a pretty grim tale, and it just struck us that when that came out in February 2017, it really struck us that this cannot be the whole picture of a tournament or a country. And so we sent a crew out literally a week after that documentary dropped, and spent 2 weeks in Russia filming our version of that documentary. And our conclusion was that, well, it's going to be a lot more, Russia is a lot more complex than that. And to simply frame this entire tournament and frame this entire nation as kind of hooligans and Putin puppets and through the eyes of a very biased Western media, we thought was massively unfair. We felt it was massively unfair to all the kids out there that were looking forward to hosting a World Cup for the first time. All the Russian players, all the Russian fans, 99% of them that are going to games and wanting to see a Russian World Cup on home soil. And so we put out our own documentary that said, you know, it's more complicated than that. Russia is a big, complex bear of a country with 11 time zones and 18 different dialects and multiple races and religions all within one huge continent of a country. And so we soldiered on. We said, we think this is what the Russia World Cup's going to be, and it steeled us to build an even bigger presence out there. So we had what we called our clubhouse in the middle of Moscow, and we decided that our purpose and role in that tournament was to embrace everything that Russian culture could throw at us, to visit as many places in Russia as possible, to cover the tournament from as many different fan angles as possible, with a central hub in the middle of Moscow, inviting every fan from around the world to come and hang out with us. And so what I'm going to show you now is the first video, and the first video is really a wrap-up reel of what the Russian World Cup was from a COPA90 perspective.
So how do you do a World Cup? Start by making Moscow your home with your own clubhouse to host film screenings, Q&As, discussion panels, art exhibitions, live music, and of course live match screenings, creating a place for thousands of supporters to call home during the tournament. Have teams stationed all over Russia capturing once-in-a-lifetime scenes, broadcasting right from the heart of the action, and engaging your audience in the narrative of every show. Unite fans from all over the planet through your unrivaled creator network, giving them the platform to react to every moment and show their World Cup from their point of view. Bring the beautiful game to China, smashing into the biggest social networks there to establish a whole new fan base. From London and New York, have newsrooms crafting thousands of pieces of original content across Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Harness your unique style and irreverent tone to create a truly groundbreaking World Cup show with Snapchat that draws almost 500 million views, along with almost 500,000 new subscribers, and led to multi-market campaign buys from some of the world's biggest brands. Find it all very thirsty work, so decide to launch your own beer and have it stocked in some of London's most exclusive bars and retailers. Release your own exclusive clothing lines, bespoke World Cup range of caps, and engage even your youngest fans with your own World Cup book. Partner with the FA to reconnect a generation of England fans with their national team for the first time in decades and help to spark the dream of football coming home. Partner with some of the world's biggest brands to create content and shows, connecting them with an audience they could never before. Create such an impact during the tournament that everyone wants a piece of your action and wants to know your secret.
Let's bring in Tom Thirlwall, who's the CEO of the football media business COPA90. Hi, Tom.
Good morning, Rachel.
And may I say, brilliant work that you and your team is doing out here at the moment.
It's no longer just about the 90-minute product.
Our position has always, as COPA90, been that this World Cup is going to be amazing.
Feature on the BBC, CNN, Russia Today, Sky News, London Live, and numerous other press outlets. Over the course of just 6 weeks across the World Cup, COPA90 created over 6,000 pieces of content, generated more than 693 million total video views, drew 11 million engagements across all content, and experienced follower growth of almost 750,000 across all platforms. All of this while throwing ourselves headfirst into the biggest party on earth and celebrating everything we love about the beautiful game. Now that is how you do a World Cup.
There you go. That's how you do a World Cup, apparently. Thank you. And it was a real experience, to be totally honest with you. I mean, I think I was personally blown away arriving in Moscow to a space and to be sat next to Peruvian fans that have travelled to basically come and see our clubhouse and were hoping to get some tickets for the game while they're out there. And so, yeah, I think that going back to the theme of this, the fear quickly eroded. You would have seen it yourselves. That sort of Project Fear quickly eroded and vanished, and what came in was this sort of sense of kind of hope and this sense of kind of unity. And one of the things that we've always felt about football and the world of football is its opportunity to unite versus its sometimes propensity to divide. And when we witnessed across Russia this sense of the kind of world of fans coming together, whether it was Argentinians and Mexicans and Brazilians and Serbians at their first World Cup, Peruvians, Panamanians, it's quite an extraordinary moment when all of those groups from around the world come together, under the banner of the FIFA World Cup, and it is something quite extraordinary and something very celebratory that we know has always been there. But it seems like every World Cup, kind of modern mainstream media, seeks to come into that World Cup and create some sort of division or some sort of panic or some sort of fear. When we went to the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, the fear around that was being spread because no one's got any football to talk about ahead of the game was all around violence in the streets of Rio, the protests, the stadiums not being ready. And again, the moment a ball gets kicked, that all vanishes. And I think that is the era of media that we seem to find ourselves in, that kind of negative stories and sensationalism and division seem to be the headlines that sort of garner the most views and therefore, prove the business models of those types of company. And we just don't want to be a part of that. We want to be a part of the coming together of nations and communities in football, and we want to be a part of the celebration of the game. Which leads me neatly on to, he says, the sense of hope around next year's tournament in France, which is, of course, the Women's World Cup, which has an enormous amount of hope attached to it. We're living in an era now where the women's game is as good as it's ever been. We have the US as the world champions, the most powerful, richest nation on earth, coming to, defend their title. There is a sense that it could and should be a watershed moment for the women's game, and we certainly want to see that and certainly want to be a part of that. The fear is that, and if we go back 20 years to 1999, there was again a similar sense of hope around the watershed moment for the women's game. The US clinched the title against a crowd of 91,000 and huge viewing figures. Iconic moments and iconic players came out of that tournament. What happened, though, was over the intervening 20 years is successive failures, certainly in the US game, to establish a league and establish a league that can build interest and give a platform to those players. And if the world's most powerful nation struggled to build a league and struggled to build a platform, then, of course, that played out around the world as well. And my observation here is, and the observation going into the Women's World Cup next year is, without the success of that platform, you don't get the media interest. And without the media interest, you're not getting the investment. And without the investment, you're not getting the development. And without that development, it's very hard for players to, without any of that platform develop, create a platform for themselves and be the role models that it is so easy to become in the men's game. And we need those role models. And in the men's game, new role models are created almost on a sort of, and the stars of the game are almost created on a monthly basis or a weekly basis in a World Cup year. And we, people in this room and people in this entire conference here, need to be very aware of the role that we all have to play in ensuring the success of the Women's World Cup next year, whether you're part of a club, a brand, a league, part of FIFA, or a kind of media bystander in all of this, which is, I guess, where people have been. But as the media and as COPA90, we really want to throw ourselves into the building of a platform and the celebrating of the women's game to ensure that our sons and daughters growing up have those role models, that our daughters see within the women's game role models for whom they want to be, and young boys are growing up seeing that these women are as talented, as badass, and are as brilliant at the game as their male counterparts. And it does really need that completely joined up effort, and it also needs the media in particular to fully embrace and fully push forward the women's game and female fans, because this is the world we live in. This is the world that we want to share with both men and women of all gender, class, sexual orientation, and this needs to be fully embraced from this moment onwards. So the second video that I wanted to show you is just the start of an initiative that we're calling just for now the FC project, which is COPA90's way, again, everything outside of the 90 minutes and building the culture and the kind of fame around the women's game, to find new young storytellers, to find young creators around the world and bring the world of the women's game, female creators together, so that we have a platform from which we can build coming into the Women's World Cup and then out again. So this is the FC project.
This game is not easy.
I've never felt like less of a supporter because I'm a woman.
It challenges me, and sometimes it tells me I don't belong.
There's not too many places you can go in the world as a woman and just feel equal with everyone.
But this game,
I live, breathe, and just love the game.
this is my game.
Never get intimidated, you're quite small.
No, look at the size of my muscles.
This is my ball, my field, my form of expression, my canvas. And this is my family. We look different, we play different, we sound different. And each one of our voices is a powerful act, and together, we speak the language of the beautiful game.
Let's go.
This is a mission, a movement among movements, to demonstrate, to inspire and be inspired, to blaze a trail for the millions of young women who are destined to lead, create, and have their own voices heard.
In England, growing up, football really is a boys' sport. Coming here and seeing the women's supporters, that's been really exciting.
We're paving the way. You get to be part of the history.
And as we are chasing our dreams together, we're going to show the world how soccer feels. Welcome to the COPA90 FC project.
And what I wanted to leave you with, which is what we set our stall to do, which is commit to the women's game, women in the game, and female fan culture. Invest ahead of what might be the larger revenue opportunity of actually embracing the other half of the world. Because with that forward investment, with that creation of a platform whereby we can build the next stars and role models of tomorrow, that's where the commercial models will be proven out. But you have to do one ahead of the other. And then finally, believe that this is the right way for the game to move forward. Believe that the business models will find themselves ahead of the kind of TV money, ahead of other opportunities for you to make money out of this. And finally, our view is that we can't keep calling this the beautiful game or the world's game if we actively ignore and don't give enough credence and respect to the women's game. And for me, it starts now, and for our company, it starts now. And the ask of this audience and of the World Football Summit is that that starts now for everyone as well. So that's what I wanted to show you today. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you very much.